Well, hi, welcome to Dance of the Soul. I'm Regan, and this is Natasha here. This is a podcast we do every Monday at 4 o'clock on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, I think, right?
Yes.
Now, luckily, I don't have to do the technical part. Natasha's been really good at taking care of that part. So I just show up at 4, and I'm a hypnotherapist and a life between life regressionist from the Newton Institute, where we have a special way that we help people. I would say go to heaven and back. In other words, communicate with the other side. There's several ways that people can communicate with the other side. And one is through hypnosis, and the other is through a really good, talented medium, which Natasha is.
Thank you.
We try to cover. You're welcome. Try to cover all the bases here. So it's just a different way of getting information that a person might need to help them to get through life a little easier. So we usually just talk about subjects everybody has to deal with, and give it kind of a spiritual perspective. Natasha gives her viewpoint from her direct connection to the other side with angels and guides and her experience. And I give it more through case histories and my own personal experience of visiting the afterlife for a few hours and coming back. We just try to help everybody out there get a little bigger picture to help you realize that you're more than your physical body, and that there is something beyond what we see here. So today, I think we decided to talk about fear. Was that it, Natasha?
Yes, we did.
And because everybody is going through fear with the big war going on right now.
Yes, yes. And I know that we've kind of hit on it, and I know we've talked about it a little bit, and I know I've talked about it on my other show that I do, Life Clarifications with Natasha, on Wednesdays at 4, same places. But it's one of those things that that we constantly go through. And I know for me that I just did a weekend of doing sessions at a psychic fair. It wasn't a fair.
Oh, wow.
It had rocks and different logistics of, there's singing bowls there. There was somebody who had wonderful honey and, different things like that. And that's kind of laid down. So I'm kind of coming out of that a little bit because it was just such a long weekend. But, we had some solar flares this weekend. So it was like a lot of different energy. And we're all going through some energy ups and downs with the planets and things like that. And it's triggering a lot of things. And so with that I kind of went, there's so many people that were afraid to walk through some part of themselves that I noticed. And they were afraid of, and it's not necessarily, it was a fear that they knew that they had. And that's what I thought that, we could talk about something that people really can navigate with, because they don't know, there's the big fears, spiders, snakes, heights, but then there's these little fears that we walk through or don't walk through, and it's that part of us, and some of it is that we're very into, many of us are very spiritually inclined, empathic. We're very there's so many that are empaths that they are afraid to walk into big rooms because they're afraid of the energy.
Yeah.
And I didn't even put that in the logistics of the title today, and I could. I'm going to go back actually and fix that. But, there's a lot of fear that goes in and out of things, and it weaves its way through so many. It's a tapestry that it weaves through. And actually, they just gave me that image, tapestry, to say that word. And that's how quickly my intuition works, that they give me pictures of that. And so it's one of those things that as we go forward and navigate that, there's so many personal fears. And we have the big thing, the war. And my other show, I do hold time, just to give prayer for that. Because of the fact that it is so big. And I just pray that we can come to some moment where we don't have to overtake everybody. It's a human nature to overtake people. And I'm like going, and that came from caveman times. My tribe is better than your tribe, and I'm going to take over,
Yeah.
and it just one of those things. And I'm just like, I'm so over that. Why can't we be our unique self and be one at the same time? There is that opportunity to be unique and
Yeah.
ish, one ish,
Yeah.
one of many, but yet unique in that one of many.
Hmm. Yeah. Fear is a big giant F. I mean, it kind of follows most of us around in some form all the time. From little fears or phobias that we get, and just like you were saying about spiders and different things like
Hmm.
that. I'll grab my book in a minute. A book I wrote about phobias and fears, and in there I have about 500 fears listed, and
Oh,
some of them are hilarious. I mean, to most of us, and we
uh-huh.
think, why would someone be afraid of this? But it's, yeah, I don't know. It seems to, I mean, a little fear is good, like,
Well, it's consciousness. It's
yeah,
it's the it's the realisticness of saying, stop here, think
yeah,
about it.
yeah, there could be some danger ahead or something. But
Hmm.
too much fear and overabundance of fear causes people uh, humongous problems. Now, regular fears and phobias, I mean, of the hundreds and hundreds that there are that people have, we have, that technique with EFT, which is the emotional freedom technique, can sometimes get rid of those in about 20 minutes, just by doing the tapping. It sounds crazy, but the book I wrote was called, well, let me get it. I'll read some of those. Hang
Yeah,
on a second
please do, please do.
while you're talking.
Yeah, and there's just one of these moments, and we're probably going to echo for a minute because of his earphones. There we go. But we're all in these moments where we're getting tagged by it, and we just don't know where they come from, and a lot of them come from past lives. A lot of them
Yeah,
come from past lives, and thank you for fixing your camera.
you're welcome.
It's just one of those things that I wish that we would kind of tap into it. Like my younger or my child, one of my children, from the minute he was born, he hated being in water. He hated baths. He would scream. Well, at the time, I wasn't necessarily, my mom had, or my dad just passed away. So I wasn't really tapping into the past lives. I wasn't really, I was in the middle of grief at the same time taking care of a newborn. And so I wasn't tapping into pretty much anything. But there was something that told me he had something from a past life. I wasn't really saying, "Oh, it's past life." Da, 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 he drowned in this moment, and da, da, da. But it was just that I knew it was a past life, and I would handle it differently. I wouldn't tell him, "Oh, that's stupid," even as a baby,
Yeah,
because I knew that this was a real fear, and I say, "You're okay. You're safe. You're safe. We'll work through this. We're safe."
yeah,
And I would just keep doing that. And he still doesn't care for water. He never really was a swimmer. He, but yet at the same time, though, I could tell that his fear of water became more of a very big dislike of water,
hmm,
through handling it different.
hmm. Yeah, I mean, fears it can debilitate you. This is a book I wrote a few years back.
Oh, great picture to put on the scene. A lot of people are going to pick up
Yeah,
that book because
I know phobia. Some people are even afraid to pick up the book. But
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
this phobia's gone in an hour in fears. Um, and I'm not kidding. I've had people with all kinds of fears that come to me, and usually within about an hour, sometimes as quick as 20 minutes, it could be
Hmm.
gone and not even come back again. And that's through this EFT, this tapping, this emotional freedom technique.
Yeah.
We don't know why it works. It just does. I see it happen in front of me all the time. Um, so, matter of fact, anybody, if you remember, the phobia's gone an hour. If you know, if anybody goes to my website, they see this after down the line when you have it posted. If they get a hold of me through visittheafterlife.com, ask for a free copy. I'll send them a free ebook copy happily. Because there's no need to be, with those fears or phobias, no need to live with those when we can get rid of them now.
Hmm.
Now, you were right, Natasha, like when you said about you knew someone had this fear of water. And
Hmm.
that brings up to a case history that wasn't my case, but another therapist that used this emotional freedom technique. And this woman was so afraid of water, she couldn't go to a barbecue if people had a pool in their backyard.
Hmm.
Uh, she took showers, never could get around the bathtub, because it's too much water. It was
Yeah.
that bad. Anyway, in regression, she went to a past life where she found herself in a Model T, and her boyfriend in this past life she went to, her boyfriend had just bought this car and wanted to take her out, and they took her out by the lake, and so they were parked in front of the lake, and they started necking,
Mm-hmm.
and she accidentally hit the release on the thing, and the car rolled down into the water. And her boyfriend says, don't worry, just roll up the windows and we'll be okay. Of course, they drowned,
Yeah, because you got to get out of the windows that you have
Right.
down.
So anyway, her seeing that, then she realized why she was afraid of water all the time, because she had died that way. Anyway, she ended up getting better, and that was before tapping. She didn't do it that way. She just went to a past life, saw where it started from, and then that knowledge of knowing where it came from released it from her in this lifetime. So
exactly, because it puts it in a perspective.
Yeah.
Of why. And sometimes there's a lot of us when we get, hi Bev, one of she's listening today.
Good.
That many times when we're negotiating a lot of our things, that once we put I know what it is, now I can negotiate it. Now I know how to perceive it. Now I know how to, apply it to it. And many times when we're in that moment, let's say in the shower and we're getting fearful, then we go, oh, wait a minute, that's because I drowned. It's not here. It's because I drowned in a past life. That's, and we can kind of somehow grab hold of it instead of going, oh crap, I'm afraid of something.
Yeah.
And I know that there's some people that are afraid of spiders or snakes. It's because they were buried in the ground and bugs were all over them and they died doing it, and it's like, no wonder they're so afraid.
Yeah. When I had my booth.
Hello, Anna. We got a couple people saying hello and welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you for letting us know that you're here, because then it brings it more into a conversation. So if you have something to say, please
anybody out there
reach
listening, if they have a particular fear or phobia, let us know and we can talk about it. I'll give you another example of how this EFT works fast. I had a handwriting analysis booth that I'd put up down in Balboa Park for a while down there, and I'd have people come by and I'd do because I'm a handwriting analyst, and I would analyze their handwriting, and they would see that I was a therapist. And I had a young couple sit down. They were from Saudi Arabia, and they had just gotten married and came to America for their honeymoon. They didn't know each other until their parents arranged the marriage. So they were just getting to know each other. Cute couple. You can tell they really liked each other and everything. But the husband said, except for one thing, she is so afraid of bugs that we are not having any fun anywhere. We went to a park the other day and there was a bug and she had a panic attack. And,
oh, geez.
And I said, hey, I can help you there. I just had her sit down in the chair. I had her, they're staying at the Hilton. And I had her close her eyes. Imagine she was in this beautiful, comfortable bed at the Hilton. And she woke up and she looks next to her on the pillow and there's a roach on the pillow. And just in her mind, from her imagining that, she started doing this. It affected her so much. So I said, okay, open your eyes. I said, there's no bug here right now. So what I did the tapping with her. It's like, even though I'm afraid of bugs, it scares the heck out of me and it might ruin my marriage. I love and accept myself, even though I'm afraid of bugs. And we tapped these different points. And then I had her, after doing it for 10 minutes, I had her close her eyes. I says, okay, you're back in that bed at the Hilton. You just open your eyes and there's a roach on the pillow next to you. And she just was calm as could be. And then I said, and now there's 20 of them and the 30 of them and they're crawling all over you. She was as calm as could be. Later on, they took my card, they emailed me and they said, Regan, that's amazing. She was able to go through, we went to like Yellowstone, we did some camping, all this was bugs and stuff, and she was perfectly fine. So that's just how this can work. And I got a question for you, Natasha. Now, when you're doing readings for clients, sometimes, does that ever come up where they have a fear of something and they just ask you why? And then you're able to access it, or is that
Yes,
something?
yes, there is, and many times it's the fear of something doesn't necessarily come up. But when I am going through sessions, a lot of times it's the fear of walking through. It can be about bugs or something like that, but sometimes those are the things that people don't really want to talk about, or they're
Yeah,
not. They're not the. Oh yeah, it's something that they deal with every day, so it's not a problem.
yeah,
They're afraid of it every day, so it's not a problem.
yeah,
Well, it is a problem if you have to deal with it every day.
yeah,
But and so a lot of times when I am going through a session with someone, it does come up with that. But a lot of times it's the fear of who they are and standing stronger in themselves
yeah,
that I work through the back door of some of those fears,
yeah,
and that negotiating where they're at. Because like this weekend there was a couple people that they're so afraid of being not perfect,
yeah,
that they didn't realize that the universe was helping them to be their more vulnerable spiritual self,
no,
and they were still trying to perform XYZ in a perfect way, when actually the universe was saying, let's stop at M and take care of this part of you that really can be more well-rounded. And it was amazing to work through that. So I do work with some of those types of fears, yes, and I do go back into their past lives
yeah,
and say, well, there was there's one person where there was a loud horn sound, and just like, oh god, that sound really, I said, well, do you mind if I tell you, you were on a ship in Hawaii, that was bombed. Oh, and I don't sometimes, and I don't jump in that quickly, usually,
hmm,
because I don't want people to go and get stuck with that memory. And I usually say something like, well, okay, there's something that happened, and I'm going to tell you, I don't want to stay there. I don't want you to stay there. I want you to find the reason, and then we're going to move you through that reason and come to this life. So it's that progression of moving it around. You
yeah,
were bombed, you were in Hawaii when, this ship, and do you want to hear more? Yeah, I do actually. And I said, now remember, we're going to move you through that. So now you were on that ship and you ended up having, the bombing going off, and there wasn't very many survivors on that ship, and you weren't one. And now in this lifetime, I want you to remember that you're safe, and that you're going through this, but that is the reason why you were triggered. You're here
yeah,
now and you're safe, but that's why you were triggered. And it comes out differently in a session. It depends on the person, depends on the wording. I give this over to the universe with my wording sometimes, and today I'm not quite there, because I'm not in a session. So it's that moving it through. It's moving it through.
yeah. In past lives, there's so many different, like when I regress people to past lives, it's very interesting just to see how they're going to pass away. Um, the most common, though, I would say probably 60-70% of the time, it's people are dying of some sort of breathing problem or
Yes.
some sort of pneumonia or something like that, and they're just sick
Mm-hmm.
and they pass
Mm-hmm.
away. I haven't had too many that have, like burned at the stake or, that sort of thing. I've had a few people stabbed or thrown off a ship and drowned and that sort of thing. And just mentioning now, when people do past life regression, if I was to do one for you on Zoom or in person or whatever, you don't have to worry about being re-traumatized when that happens, because
No.
when I notice that, I tell you, when you're in deep hypnosis, I say, look, you can just, you're outside your body watching it happen, or you can stay in it in your body if you want to experience it. But most people all of a sudden watch it happen, and so they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the emotion that's involved, or they don't have to feel
Mm-hmm.
like they're being burned alive again. Uh,
Exactly, because it is pretty traumatic
yeah,
to watch. But at the same time, remember that we're in a past life. We look different.
yeah,
We're not looking the way we are today. And
right,
so when we're watching it from a different perspective, because we know it's us, but it's not us.
yeah.
And
It is. It's very interesting that way.
it
Yeah,
is interesting. And as we're going through life, but And I'm going to tell you too that a lot of times when we're in a session, probably you and I know from the hypnosis times that I've gone in, and I don't really get hypnotized. It just it's just another way of me going into finding out something.
Uh,
I go quickly. One day you're gonna have to play with my mind a little bit and see
yeah.
what ends up happening. But it's one of those things that going through it, I'm sorry, I lost track here. When we're going through those sessions and doing it, that it is where the universe usually brings us to those spots that help us in our life.
Yeah.
And most of the time it's where we're at now to move us through, because you can have another session maybe another 6 months later and you'll get totally something different, even with me, because of the fact that that moment has moved on and you're needing some other information. So you may not hit past lives that you are burned at the stake unless it's
So, yeah.
pertinent.
Yeah. That's what's
Like for
pertinent.
me, I
Right.
don't get all my past lives brought up to me, even though I can see them. But like I'm dealing with food right now, so there's a lot of food times where I can tell when like I have this image of somebody holding my mouth and pouring something down my throat. And that's all the image that I have, because then that gives me the idea that, oh, no wonder I don't like smoothies and a lot of putting things down my throat, because something was opened my mouth and that's how they ended up killing me. It
Yeah.
was the time that they did that. And I had that just that image gave me the understanding why I struggle with having things go down my throat. And I go, okay, I get it. Okay, that was then, this is now. I want the flavors of food. I want the textures of food. Now talking about smoothies, there's some things in smoothies I don't want to have. And so that's
Yeah.
another excuse why I'm saying I don't want it. But see, I'm applying it. I'm bringing it up to today. It's
Yeah.
not just I don't want things going down my throat. It's that applying. Okay, now I can say there's things that not in the smoothie that I don't want. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, in doing past life regressions, when the people are uh, deep enough, then I'll talk to the subconscious and say, or higher self and say, we want to go back to see a past life. And we would request that it have something to do, to shed light on our current situation and our current
Mhm.
life. And generally that happens. So when we talk about it after the session, usually we can connect that lifetime to how they are kind of now or what they're kind of going through,
Yeah.
or but when people, it's just amazing when people find out the why to things, problems just kind of go away. You don't sometimes have to do anything, because
Yeah.
I think not knowing why is what causes the stress, because we don't
Exactly.
understand, like, why is this happening to me, but when we find out why it is, then somehow you're able to handle the situation much, much better.
Hmm. So Sue, thank you for watching on my YouTube channel, Susan.
Hey,
I'm
Susan.
grateful that it's being applied there too. I'm grateful for Facebook and Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, I do not get quotes, or I mean comments on Twitter. So if you can go over to either my YouTube channel, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications, or my Facebook page, Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications, you can make comments there. So she says I can't read today,
I'll read it.
Regan. I
I'll read it.
apologize.
No problem. Okay, most, if not all, of the energetic blocks in my life emanate from stuck fear, either from this lifetime or others. I've seen many of them in hypnosis and healed them. Yeah, good, Susan.
Yes.
And
Thank
nowadays,
you, Sue.
if you have some of these things that are dogging you, after where and now that there's techniques for getting rid of that, then why carry it around, even if it's
Mhm.
just something that happens every once in a while. It's just good to clean house, just get rid of the stuff we don't need right now.
Mhm.
I did have a case, I think I mentioned on the show one time before, but it's apropos to what we're talking about, of that little 10-year-old girl whose parents came to me because she had told them when she was 3 years old, she says, Mommy, a mean man stabbed me in the back, stabbed me with the knife in the back of a car, you
Mm.
know, and it bothered her, it still
Mhm.
scared her. And until she still repeated that up till 10 years old. and it was bothering the daughter because she still had this memory that kept coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And she couldn't, young person, she couldn't
Apply it anywhere.
Like,
Yeah.
why does she have this fear? So parents came in. I had them sit down. The young girl went to a past life, and an angel appeared in there. And we asked the questions, and the angel said, "Yes, you did." And it was in the late 40s in Europe, and she was even able to draw a picture of the car, which when we went through cars of that era, she was able to identify the car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one that had 2 seats, but you could only get in through the front seat. So if you're in the back seat, you can't get out, you're trapped,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where she couldn't get away. And the angel told her, and she described this angel, this little 10-year-old, beautiful smile, describing this angel and talking to her. It was so nurturing and so beautiful what happened. And the angel told her, look, that was that lifetime. You don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to affect you
I'm
in this
getting
lifetime.
chills. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she told her at the end, she said that this person who actually killed you is going to come back into your life in this lifetime, but to make up for the wrong that he did, that it's not going to be a bad thing. She got so calm. And afterwards, she just smiled like, oh my gosh, now, I know why. The parents were blown away that a 10-year-old, they're so suggestible.
Yes.
And they just go boom, right into hypnosis really quick. And she was, in a past life. And then after that life, the past life she went to is where we met the angel. So, yeah, sometimes they could come from past life. Sometimes they come from this life. Fear is just such a big topic, because there's, like we were talking about, or you were talking, Natasha, fear of things,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me, I'll just read, not all of them here, but I've got about 500 of them in here in the book. But listen to some of these. Now, if anybody has these fears, it's not funny, but I mean.
It's not funny, but it has a funniness to it.
Yeah, because okay. Here we go. Fear of taking tests. Okay. Fear of certain fabrics. Some people have certain fabrics. A fear of sitting. Like somebody up, they never sit down. They have a fear of sitting down. They have.
Well, that makes sense because if you have a fear of sitting down, there's something that happened to you in that position.
Yeah, probably so.
Oh, and I'm getting, some of those old medieval racks.
Oh, yeah.
That's the image I got.
Yeah. Here's one here.
Ow. Oh, that. Okay, cancel, clear, delete. Get that out of there.
Well, fear of symbolism. I don't quite know what that is. A fear of symmetry. Fear of relatives.
Because of things being too perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Fear of relatives.
Yeah.
That
might be because you just have a bad situation with someone in the family and you apply it. I don't know. That one's, you'd really have to look at the person's life.
I know. Here's one here. Fear of long words. Some of the fear when the word's too long. They have it. Fear.
Well, I can say that I used to have something like that.
Well,
I wouldn't call it a phobia or but me being dyslexic, that I don't know why the universe at that time gave me the email angelic clarifications.
Yeah.
That's long. I didn't even know how to spell it half the time until I started spelling it. But long words, I can see that, being dyslexic, that
fear of the moon. Some people, they can't look at the moon. They have a fear.
That's dealing with outer space and trauma from outer space when we were in star beings.
A fear of writing in public. Different things. There was one that was a fear of looking up, where they can't look up. They always have to.
Something came down on them. Yeah, something in a past life. Something came down on them.
A
piano some of these. When somebody was moving a piano. Yeah. Oh,
fear of rectums. Oh man, that could have been something bad happened in there. Fear of beards.
Oh, that would
fear,
be the boogeyman somewhere.
yeah. And of course, some of these you could kind of figure out: fear of tombstones, fear of being wealthy, um, a fear of having fear,
Mm-hmm.
you know, fear of being bald.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, that's something about looks.
yeah, fear of dolls.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um,
That would go in the same theme as as clowns and stuff like that.
yeah, that's funny. Now that we're saying this, some of these kind of make sense because if we think about past lives, that could be like, fear of bald people. You know, um,
So somebody who had no hair, let's call it
could have.
the Egyptian times, somebody with
Yeah,
no hair, who basically tortured you, that would cause a
that could
fear
cause
of
it.
bald. Hmm. See, there's
Yeah,
always that's the thing
all
is
those
like even
things.
even like the sitting one, it was like, oh, that was a nasty image I got.
Yeah, this really
That
makes
there's just,
sense.
yeah, that it really, there's no, and it's not necessarily, like I said, it's not some of them when you first hear them you almost have to giggle because it's like, really, fear of sitting. But then when you think about some of this, something that somebody went through as a past life and
Yeah,
how traumatic, I mean, can you imagine being done something in a sitting position in those medieval chairs?
yeah.
I mean, I
Well,
wouldn't want to sit
there's a
if that was my image.
uh,
But
yeah,
it's one of those things that's kind of a gory thing to think of. But it puts it in perspective of why people have things
yeah.
and
I
how
mean,
they can be fixed.
and all these things have names. Like fear of the figure eight is called octophobia. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and fear of anything new, um, fear of names, fear of hospitals, fear of glass, fear of small things. Uh, you know, but yeah, a lot of these could be tied in. Now, it's funny. I never thought of that until just today, even though I wrote this book about, because I was doing past life regressions uh, on and off, but not like this was,
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago when I was mostly just getting rid of these things. Now, sometimes in this lifetime, we know why we have the fear of some
Mm-hmm.
things. Like one of my clients, the first time she was on an airplane, she was with her mom and they had extreme turbulence and the plane was bouncing all around. And the mother grabs she's 6 years old. The mother grabbed her and goes, "We're going to die. We're going to die."
Oh.
And
Mm-hmm.
so when she would get on an airplane now, she would go into, have panic
A
attack.
fear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one time the stewardess came up and said, "Can we put you in the back because you're scaring people?" You know, uh, but I did the tapping with her. She was able to fly from that on. It was we got rid of it with doing the EFT.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
sometimes I reinforce it with hypnosis sometimes, like after doing the tapping, and then we have them go deep and talk to their subconscious that they're no longer afraid and everything,
Mm-hmm.
that way too. Um, but it's just amazing. Now my biggest case that I had that I put in a couple of my other books was that CSI guy, really nice guy. Met him at a party, and his girlfriend came up to me and said, "I hear you can take, phobias and fears away." And I said, "Well, what's he afraid of?" And she said, "Ketchup." You know, in other words, he was afraid of the condiment ketchup.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I thought of, because he's CSI, was blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe ketchup blood. But he said
Mm-hmm.
no. He says he doesn't ever. He's around dead bodies and things when they're doing the crime scene investigation. It doesn't bother him. It's just the condiment ketchup. So much so that every time they would go to a restaurant, he would have his girlfriend go in ahead of time, go to the table, make sure there was no ketchup on the table, or he wouldn't go in. She loved ketchup. That's the thing. And she was afraid this was going to mess up their marriage. So she came to me and says, "Can you help him?" I said, "Sure." So again, we did this tapping
Mm-hmm.
for about 10 minutes. And after that, he was not afraid of, I ran into him 3 years later and he said, "Regan, I don't know what exactly you did, but I don't have panic attacks anymore." He says, "I still won't eat it, but I don't, it's not a problem really anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
and
I wonder
we,
what happened with him with
I know
ketchup.
we don't know. It could have been something from childhood. But what's nice is sometimes
Yeah.
to get rid of it, I don't always have to know the origin of it. It just,
Yes.
this tapping just balances out that fear that you have, and then your body's okay once you balance it out and you get rid of that. You know. So I don't know what I guess I'm trying to think what my biggest fear is. I don't have any fears or phobia. I mean, a little bit of heights. I mean, I get like when I was at the World Trade Center before it blew up, but just went to tour and got up to the top and was looking out and down. I can remember my stomach just, it was kind of scary in the heights there. But maybe on the verge of it being an issue. But I can fly and I can do.
Yeah,
stuff
I
like
have
that.
my fear is like yours, where it's more the fear of falling over. Mainly it's because I don't want to end my life. Because I remember having,
Yeah.
I remember sitting on the edge of a spaceship in another lifetime, sitting on a spaceship watching Mother Earth be made.
Huh.
So I was outside in space, in the middle of nowhere. So I know I'm not afraid of heights.
Yeah.
But it's that looking over part of it that gets me, and like you.
Yeah.
But I know it comes from I don't want to lose this lifetime.
Yeah.
I know that action from being thrown over in a volcano a couple lifetimes, that action leads to a passing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
And fear can actually be something. If your fear is great enough, you can actually cause physical issues and problems in your life. Like that client I had that had a limp and a frozen hip, and when I took her to the other side, and we had a guide that was there, and we asked about the hip, and he told her that it was her fear of moving forward in her life, and so she had given herself hip problems, to move, because that way she's holding her back, where she has an excuse for not moving forward.
Exactly. And that's the thing is that that's an aspect that I didn't even think about talking about, was how does our bodies interact with our fears?
Oh yeah. Well, just think about it. When you have a fear, you tighten up. You strangle everything in your body so that it can't perform naturally. So if you're living in fear all the time, that's why some people that are in abusive relationships and things, and they fear for violence being done to them, they get very, very unhealthy, because they're walking around all the time. Their body's on alert. Like, oh my gosh, anybody listening out there, a whole bunch of my clients, lots of them are women that have violence issues and PTSD from that. And there's a way out. There's a way out of it.
There is a way. I don't want to say out of it, but through it, to get to a place of,
that's the best way to say
more peacefulness.
Yeah.
Through it to get to more peacefulness, because I know that I had to work through some trauma that navigated in my life, and then it's like once I went through it and showed that it wasn't any stronger than me. I didn't do I do tapping, but I don't necessarily do your tapping. But like when I come out of a meditation, or if I tap to integrate into my body what I learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So I use it in a other scenario. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you again. So she caught my show the other day too. So going through though the fear of how do we get through the fear? Well, we've in this conversation came up with is that there's a couple ways you can tap, acknowledgement of it, and really saying, why do I have it? And finding out. And a lot of times it does come from the past, but I know that a lot of us right now are coming through this, like we have this big itch. I gotta do something. There's something out there for me to do. I know that I'm ready for this. There's something out there. What am I supposed to do? I know that there's something bigger than what I'm doing right now. And I can tell you there's a lot of people who are fearful of looking into a part of themselves You know, like yesterday I had this image of somebody was asking me about they were wanting to listen to their guides, but they were having a hard time listening to their they were listening to guides, but they weren't listening to all their guides. And they're, why can't I listen to them all? And we came down to that she put up a wall. You know, she put up a wall, and we were able to, you know, look through the window, find the door, look through the window, open up the door, and I said, jump. I said, jump through. Don't question it. Jump through. Because you're seeing green grass on the other side. It's just as beautiful. And remember, it's like bringing the part of you from this older part of you, the part that you know, and bring it with you.
Yeah.
And bring that part over to your side. It's called a breath, in and out. And you know, this was a half an hour session, so I'm saying it in half a minute. But it was that interaction of finding out that a lot of times in somewhere in our minds we put up a wall that says, I can't look at it. I don't want to look at it. I'm not going to look at it. But once we find out, oh, it's the other side of the room. You know, it's something that I know. And a lot of people forget that when they're going through these big steps in their life, you know, walking into a new job, doing something new, that basically we don't have to forget who we are. I didn't stop being me, even though I was shy and quiet. I didn't stop being me. I just added to me. You know, and it's okay to figure out these places and things that we're afraid of, to add to ourselves so we're more well-rounded, more able to navigate more things in our lives. Instead of reacting to them, we can interact with them.
Yeah, when my clients are in heaven and they're talking to the guides and counsel, one thing we found out is the number one thing that's keeping people from developing spiritually is fear. And they'll tell them, that says it's fear. Well, you're afraid you're not good enough. You're afraid of moving forward. It's fear is the number one enemy of spiritual development, you know. And again, just like Churchill, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. And I was shown that in a big way. Somebody coming in?
No. I just noticed that Sue wrote another comment. So go ahead and keep talking.
Well, people have listened to this before. Remember that. I'll just do the short version of it. But when I did the life between life process myself, and a facilitator helped me go to heaven and back, and I spent a few hours there. On the way back, I found myself on a cliff, and I knew I was afraid. There was something chasing me to kill me, you know, and I had enough power at that time where I said, I'm going to turn around and face this fear. You know, I was really brave. And when I turned around, it was just a line of people all the way down the mountain that were lined up to hug me and to tell me they forgive me for what I'd done to them. And it was like, I think just was getting forgiveness from hundreds of people that I'd wronged in other lifetimes that were telling me that it was okay, that, you know, that was very painful emotionally for me. But it felt, every time someone did that, I felt like a brick lifted off me.
I bet.
And after,
what a healing moment.
After hundreds of these, and I felt like I've never felt so good in my life. And that was to prepare me to do this work, I think. But I think to do this spiritual work, I had to get rid of a lot of, you know, had to get a lot of cleansing and healing myself. Yeah, you know, but that just showed me, it's just, you know, I was, you know, this fear, the monster's going to get me. No, I'm going to turn around. And you turn around and it's
something totally different.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that if we stop and turn around, it's not as bad as we thought it was.
No. Well,
and that's fear.
Right. And also a lot of times people, you know, they have nightmares and things with people chasing them, people trying to do them harm in that. And what I found out is a way that's usually some fear you're running away from, something you're afraid of in your life. And it's showing up in your dream as something. There's a dream that many women have, which I didn't know it was a common dream, but one of my clients had it. But then I found out through a psychologist, it's a very common dream where women have a giant penis chasing them. You know, it sounds funny, but they said, well, okay, what male energy do you have in your life that you feel threatened by? you know.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's a boss at work or an abusive husband or something like that. But that phallic symbol represents a male energy, you know,
Mhm.
that they have this fear of, you know. So sometimes it might be that people have to learn to set boundaries, like we talked about a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
to get rid of the fear, you know. Um,
Yeah,
and-
exactly. So Sue I had dreams of falling off cliffs when I was younger, and I woke up just before I hit the ground. Had it a number of times. Past life stuff? Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
that could be.
and part of falling off a cliff too is a part of feeling like you're not in control of your life, that you're
Yeah.
falling into your life too much. Another, sometimes our subconscious is going through. Sometimes I have to go, okay, that part of my dream was the book I'm reading. Part of this dream is I'm not able to navigate through. I'm not able to process my life because it's moving too fast. You know, there's a lot of that, and then there is the other part that is sometimes past life where you had, like for me, I was thrown over into a volcano a couple times, being a what do you call it, a volunteer, but it wasn't a volunteer. You know, the virgin type of thing, you know, the
Yeah.
sacrifice, there we go.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, so that, and so falling, you know, I may not have remembered being thrown over, but I remember falling. And
Hmm.
so that part of the dream, but a lot of times it applies to a meaning in our life.
Hmm.
And go, like I had a dream just this last couple of days ago about the male energy and how I stopped and balanced it with female energy. So there was something about me navigating male energy and female energy, and it could be just in myself to balance that out.
Yeah, person could get really empowered by what this thing that they have a recurring dream and then they're being chased all the time. When they're finally aware that it might be just something they're afraid to face, and they become in their wake state, they become powerful. They go to sleep, and when it happens, instead of running, they turn around and beat the crap out of it. Whatever it's like,
Mm-hmm.
boom, boom, boom. You know, I had this big giant monster that ever since I was a young adult that chased me all the time, and I'd wake up sweating because I would be running all night long wherever I went. It was like, I think that's where that Friday the 13th kind of adjacent
Yeah.
came from, you know,
Thank you, Sue.
because
It
yeah,
resonates. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I actually had a dream with him. I was sitting in a plate glass window, big plate glass window, sitting in a chair, and he kept walking back and forth on the
Hmm.
street, across the street from me. And I was like, oh, I woke up, I got myself out of those were the dreams I sit straight up in. And that's why I don't watch scary movies, because my
Ah,
dreams are bad enough. So Lisa said, Lisa, thank you for commenting here. I would love to get a message from my best friend of 54 years. How can I go about
oh,
communicating with him?
yeah. Can you do a little something
Well,
for her right now?
right now I'm going to be honest with you. I am not my best, and I would not honor the situation. So Lisa, if you would like to get a hold of me for an appointment, I feel like I would do better. I had a very long weekend and I'm feeling kind of wrung out. So I know that I am not my best for doing mediumship right now, and I would not handle it in the most proper way. So I would be very grateful to have a session with you and negotiate that moment with you in private. So you can get a
Okay.
hold of me at angelicclarifications.com. I would love to do it. If I hadn't such a long weekend and rode the waves, we had some solar flares this weekend, and it was pretty empowering.
Yeah.
And then I was around a lot of rocks, and then I had 12-hour days, so I'm pretty tired.
Yeah.
So I hope
People.
that's okay, Lisa. I can honor you that way.
Yeah. People in this work that we do, they don't realize, being on this side of it, just how much energy that it takes. You
Hmm.
know, like sometimes my life between life sessions where, you know, people go to a past life and they go to where we all go between lives and do a bunch of stuff. Sometimes those sessions are 4 or 5. I even had one went 7 hours. So you
Wow.
imagine just being totally intense for 5, 6, 7 hours,
Hmm.
and it's beautiful. But when I'm done, I mean, there's one time I got done, I just went to my bed and lay down, and it was like, I think I woke up like 18 hours later. I was just out,
Yeah.
that way. So I wouldn't have wanted. That's why they don't recommend that we ever do 2 in a day, because some people say, well, I could do 4-hour one in the morning and 4-hour one in the afternoon, and we all look at them and go, you're crazy if you're going to do that. I mean, you'd have to have so much energy, to be able to do that. Like when you do readings now, do you find out that you can only do so many in a day, or
No,
it
actually,
just takes?
I do pretty good with that because of the fact that I don't use my energy. I use their energy. I let their energy flow through me and support me. What I'm dealing with right now is that there, for one, the time change. We had the hour time change. And so for me physically, my body is saying that we've had long hours, not
Mhm.
necessarily just the energy I did and the readings I did, but it was the energy that I went through in my physical body to do that. And I am not a morning person as per
Me
se.
neither.
And so if I don't get my morning to kind of rest, and I didn't get, and I haven't had it now, and I won't until next Saturday, where I have that like where you can dream your way through the morning if you want to, type of thing. And that's my physical, my body recharger. My spiritual and my every part of me has tons of energy right now, but it's
Yeah.
my physical being that is right now. So thank you for understanding that. And Lisa,
Yeah.
I would really appreciate that. And if you email me first, I would love to have a little bit, I can give you a little bit of a conversation because I would like to offer you something if we can do that. So if you want to email me at Natasha at see Natasha at angelicclarifications.com, I can interact with you. Okay, Lisa? Because I just had the
Yeah.
fair, so I would like to interact with you. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be good. I was talking to my son today. We went out for lunch or something, and I just happened to think, I said, I wonder, like last night, what did Putin dream? I wonder what his dreams are like, or is he even sleeping? Just like, people that are in the negative that way, and everything that's going on with that guy right now. I imagine his dreams would
see,
be
now
interesting.
he may not be in the negative.
Yeah.
His perception, he may
Yeah.
be in the empowerment of his life.
Hmm.
But I'm hoping, and this is what I pray for, is that there's something knocking somewhere inside of him that says this is not for the greater good.
Yeah.
I pray for that. I pray for that. And his cornies or carnies or whoever is
Yeah.
whoever is in his house that he navigates with, that they come to a point where something knocks on the door and says, why? And they go, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's me stop. But like I said at the beginning, we've been doing this since caveman.
Yeah.
We've been doing this since caveman. I'm better than you and I'm going to overtake you.
Yeah. I watched a documentary last night. We're talking about the research that Jane Goodall did with the apes,
Mm.
and how over the years she watched. There was one complete community where everybody kind of got along. They'd have the alpha males, have to show how tough they are sometimes and that. But eventually, as they grew bigger and bigger, they split off into 2 groups. And then they would have one of the alpha males here that would lead everybody to go fight the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they had been getting along all the time, and they would, apes that they had loved before, when they split off into the 2 groups, then there was this fear over the other groups, and one of them had to go and attack the other group. They would attack and they would kill and beat up these apes that were their friends previously before they split off into 2 groups. And they were liking it to how that's how the world's starting to become now,
Exactly. The haves and
and
have not, and the I
yeah,
wants what you have.
yeah,
Yeah, it's sad and it's scary, but when you think about it, it's the fear. There's a lot of fear in that.
yeah,
The fear of that if I don't do something first, then they're going to do something. And
Yeah.
or the fear of I have to prove that I'm better than somebody else, or the fear of saying that, nobody thinks of me as big as I know that I am, so I have to prove that I'm as big as I am.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how fear it's a seasoning of a lot of decisions we make, and we don't really realize that it is
Yeah.
a fear. I mean, people think of it as the big thing, the fear of spiders, the snakes. Oh no, fear really sneaks in and and pushes us to make certain decisions that sometimes
Are not the
we're not
best
in
kind
that.
of decisions, are
They're
they?
not the best kind of decisions for the greater good.
No.
For the greater good. They might be good for us, but they're not good for the greater good. And and that's the thing is we think that what he's doing is evil. Well, like Hitler didn't think he was evil. Not
Yeah.
really. He thought
Yeah.
he was doing for for the greater good. So it's all perception. It's all
Yeah.
perception, you know?
Well, and as I've been told on the other side is uh, the people on the other side say that a lot of times God, the universe, or something uses dark to bring people to the light.
Mhm.
In other words, sometimes there's a lot of things that happen, but it's to shake things up. So
Yep.
it's going to
Because
be
if you don't have something to see to reflect back on. And like for me, I use my I'm going to call them negative times, my more challenging times, as almost like a springboard. It's like I remember running track, and I used to have those, things that I put my feet in,
oh yeah.
and I would use
Mhm.
my negative things, or those things that challenged me, as my stopping point to bounce off of, to run
Yeah.
forward and
Hmm.
get a good place. So using what we have, but we have to have those negatives to see the light. And we have to have the bad to show the rats. We have to have, it's all what it is.
Yeah.
It's all what it is. And you know
So
here we
what
go
I
again.
yeah, what I
In
would
life.
say, because I know we're getting close to the end of the hour, um, just from what I've gained from the research that we've done from having people in heaven and on the other side and coming back is one of the best ways to balance yourself out to deal with the problems that are going on in the world right now is to start a serious meditation practice.
Mhm.
You know, in other words, that will calm you down, that will give you a better sense of reality, and help you kind of to if there's anything you can do, maybe you could do something. If you can't, if it's beyond your control, these things, then uh, meditation. It's just uh, when people ask about the best spiritual practice, on the other side, they say meditation is God's gift for people to help them keep closer to the other side.
Mhm.
That way. The other thing would be to see an EFT practitioner that does the tapping, like me, or there's thousands of them now around the country, and EFT can help take fears and phobias away. It can teach people how to daily reduce their stress level,
Mhm.
because the Newton Institute, not Newton Institute, Harvard Medical School tested people when they did EFT, and they were amazed. And they said that if somebody does this tapping for 5 minutes, that their stress level, their cortisol, which is the stress hormone in their body, reduces by up to 50% in just a matter of minutes. So it's another way to help you get through today, so that you don't overly,
Mhm.
keep your fear to a
Yeah,
lesser
because
point.
there's a lot of people that are in fear of a war right now. We're
Oh
going to go
yeah,
into a war right now, and I
yeah,
can understand that. And I can't foresee. I'm not. There's too much human choices in this dance to
yeah,
foresee anything. But I want to make sure, Lisa. I apologize, because I sometimes do mediumship on the show, but I wanted to make it clear that please get a hold of me with an email, and I can help you with that. Get in touch with him, and or
yeah,
showing you how to yourself too, in a way, because
yeah.
that's
And I
I can do a
wanted to
class.
thank you, Natasha, too, because I know one of the persons I recommended to you, and he got back to me and said it was amazing. Had a really good session with
Oh,
you.
thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. And
I
I'm
I
going to be doing a life between life session where but it's like you're helping him prepare,
Oh,
everything you
good.
told him and everything that way. So everyone so far I've referred you to, everybody said the same thing. So
I got some big compliments this weekend. People saying that your sessions are that they're not like everybody else's, and I go,
no.
that's what I hear. So with that, but I going back and for me, you were saying meditation. I don't meditate very well, but what I do is I sit in calmness.
Yeah.
I sit in calmness and I go into gratitude. And a lot of times when I find that gratitude, and I did this in the middle of my husband drinking, my mom passed away, being stressed out with kids, and my life was basically breaking apart to rebuild itself
Yeah.
in addition to all that. And sitting, being calm and going to gratitude, finding 3 things of gratitude. That was my limit because of where I was at, that I couldn't go anything less than 3. And I could even pick, I woke up this morning.
No.
That was a gratitude. I got my foot on the ground. That was a moment of gratitude. That finding those 3 things of gratitude, and I tried to do it in the morning and at night. And then during those peak times, I tried to find something in the middle of the day. And those things set it almost repivoted me to be able to see that life wasn't what it's showing reality was.
Yeah.
Because remember, life is a perception. Life is a perception. We can either perceive it as hard or we can perceive it as easy. But and a lot of times that's how we're made up with the star planets and the astrology signs and who we are as a person, what we've learned from our loved ones. It's a dance. It's a dance.
Yeah. Well,
It's a dance.
and meditation has many forms. It's not just the sitting and saying a mantra or something. Yeah, there's not. I mean, at the Buddhist retreat I went to, we just did walking meditation on and off between doing the other 2. So you could just, walking, being in nature, calming yourself down in some way, just chilling helps your body reset, helps keep your mind clear, and relaxes the body, So
Exactly. So Regan, we are at the end of our show, lovingly
all right.
said, and I am sad about that because I think that I love doing shows with you. I am so grateful. And you had to get off to a birthday party last time, so we're not rushing off
Yeah.
this time. I hope the party went good.
It was good.
Yeah. So Regan, how can people get a hold of you?
It's right in front of them there, visittheafterlife.com. I'm one of 250 trained facilitators from the Newton Institute, and we have a process where we help about 90% of people are successful at this, go into a really deep state of relaxation. And in that state, we've discovered that everybody has the ability to visit the other side. So in that, you can actually spend a couple hours in heaven, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it, asking prepared questions that you have to get answers to your life and everything, visiting your soul group of souls you regularly incarnate with. We found 8 different stations so far in this one place that people can go to. So it's amazing. My website has all the information that you need, and I'm still giving away my books right now. I don't mind giving them away. If you ask on there for a copy of 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven, which is the time I spent there and everything I learned. And also reincarnation is real, about all the current research being done. There's a lot of it being done all over the world now. It's basically been proved that, we've lived more than this one time. And if you look at all the information, you'll see that. So you can get a hold of me at Visit Life. My phone number's on there, email, everything there. What about you, Natasha? Now, how can they get a hold of you?
You can reach me at Natasha at Angelic Clarifications for an email, or angelicclarifications.com for my website. I'd be grateful to help people go through their fear. And even if you're trying to figure out if you're intuitive and reaching their guides and angels, that I've helped many people break through their walls of fear to become their truer selves, because many times we don't believe in ourselves enough to be able to do that. So Regan and I are here every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific time on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Wednesdays, I am on the same channels at 4 o'clock for life clarifications with Natasha. And sometimes when I am don't have a guest, I get on Instagram at the same time. So I've been posting it on my camera or my phone. I got pretty good at doing this technology thing for not doing it well a year ago. So
Yeah, and I know you have a special guest maybe next week or something.
no,
Or
at the end of the month.
at the end of the month. Okay. Well, then maybe
the last Monday
next
of the month.
week, so people can tune in, because we have a really interesting guest. She's a lawyer that's trying to help the we call him Chief. He's an Indian. He was he's in San Quentin. He's been there the longest on death row than anybody, and it looks like they're going to finally let him out because it was proven that he's wrongly accused.
Oh,
and he
God.
spent 40 years locked, 20 years of it in solitary confinement.
Oh
And
my gosh.
he is the sweetest, nicest guy. He just, it's just amazing. Anyway, she's his attorney, and she was at our dinner party that we had Saturday. And Tony, my good old friend Tony, has a few Indian tribes that are going to be writing letters and stuff. They just sent a letter to Governor Newsom with all the proof that they have, proof that was the. I mean, it's even got a whole website that shows all
Talk
of
about
the corruption and
injustice
stuff.
of
Yeah.
a culture.
And we
and
could talk
injustice.
about, and why do souls go through this sometimes, where they just have this total injustice, and how does somebody stay not be hateful after 40 years, doing this, So anyway, that should be very interesting just to hear that story.
I would love to hear that.
And
I'm gonna have to put myself on check there.
Yeah. And also
that's like
too,
somebody herding elephants. I
yeah,
don't go there because I can't go there.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyway,
Sorry,
it should be an interesting show. That'll maybe be next Monday. I know I got an email. She said she could do next Monday, but either next Monday or one of the shows coming up. I have to contact her, so be sure and tune in and hear all about that.
let's plan it for next Monday. So next
Yeah.
Monday we'll have a guest on. It sounds like if she verifies that it's okay, but we'll get.
Yeah.
I'll write that in the notifications of who's going to be here. So
Yeah.
look for us next Monday. After all that, and we will see you at 4 o'clock Pacific time on the same channels: Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Blessings, and please like and share wherever if you know somebody who could use this conversation, please share it to them, because the fact that so many are working through these things, and we are here to support the spiritual walk, the human walk of this walk.
Yeah, thanks to everybody that commented and everything today. That makes
thank you.
You guys make the show, because we'd love to know interact with everybody. So yeah. So tell your friends.
Okay. And a heart. Blessings.
Okay.
Bye now.
See you next week.